check out Cajun Lights, your complete dog hunting outfitter. Tracking equipment, leashes, collars, dog supplies, and much, much more. You can find it all at CajunLights.com. And don't forget their outstanding lineup of lights. You can find it all at CajunLights.com. Elite nutrition products are the hottest thing on the market right now for dog and horse owners. And Houndsman XP is a dealer. You can find all their products on our website at houndsmanxp.com. Over the past 5 years, you've tuned into this podcast, and I don't take it lightly. We have built a mutual trust. And when I recommend a product, it's because I believe in it, I use it, and I'm given my seal of approval for that. I'm putting my name on that. And with Elite Nutrition products, I do trust it. I do use it. I've seen great results with their essential dogs, their pre and probiotics, their tick-borne disease treatment. It's all natural. It's a great alternative to pharmaceuticals when used appropriately. If you expect extreme performance, you need Elite Nutrition. Available from houndsmanxp.com.
As soon as I broke through the vegetation and saw the water, then I saw something was swimming away from me, and it was a big nutria, swimming. They swim close to the surface, right under the surface. You just their head and their nose look. They come out of the water, and it was just swimming, not trying to get away, but it was like slowly swimming its way, and I stopped, and I didn't know what to do, and my goshawk, it was also like thinking a moment, and then it thought, look, there's some type of rabbit trying to swim away from us, and then she grabbed it, and of course I jumped into the river because they can bite, right? So I was aware of that. But the goshawk did well. It put both talons into the back and the neck of this thing, and I grabbed the tail, and with the other hand, with my gloved hand, I secured the head so it wouldn't bite any one of us, and I dragged it back to the out of the river. So that was the first nutria she caught.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of the Falconry Chronicles podcast, and this is another episode coming at you from Germany. The guest for this episode, Malte, I've been talking to him for, probably close to a year and a half or so now. He invited me to the last big falconry meet in Germany that they have every 2 years. Last year, I was unfortunately not able to go because of obvious time, money, and logistical issues, but hopefully I'll be able to go next year and get a chance to meet him and all these other folks that I've been talking to periodically and do some more in-person stuff. We'll see how that all goes, but this is another cool episode talking about falconry in his part of Germany, and he expounds just a little bit more on some of the requirements for their testing to become a falconer and different things like that, and also kind of talks about some of the Egyptian goose problems that they've been having over there too, and some other cool stuff. So as always, we can jump right in and hear some more falconry from Germany. So here we go. You mentioned that you went to Brussels today, right? Is that what you said?
Yes. Thank you. Thanks first of all for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm just. I just came back from a 2-day conference in Brussels, in Belgium, and I went with the car. So I arrived back a bit ago.
Well, and so how far away from that? I mean, where in Germany do you live in relation to that?
Yes, I'm living close to Cologne in Western Germany, so it's not very far to go to Belgium or Netherlands. So for me to Brussels with good traffic, it would be like 3.5 hours.
Nice. Yeah. So that's from here to Indianapolis for me, or almost to Cincinnati. Yeah. I mean, having driven through Germany a few different times now, it's always kind of nice to figure out how time relation works with, because I kind of know Eastern Germany a little bit, but not Western Germany. I haven't been to Western Germany at all or anything. So,
yes. and you know that everything in Europe, everything is more close by than in the US.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, 7 hours in Europe is, you could be through about 20 billion different countries, as opposed to, like, from here, like basically 2 states over. So
Yes.
yeah, no, it is funny. It's always interesting, as I mentioned before, talking to people in other countries, because you never can fully appreciate how big the U.S. is until you've actually been there and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, that is the one convenient thing about Europe, is it doesn't take that long to drive from one place to the other.
Yes, but it's horribly densely populated.
Yeah, that is true. Also, depending on where there are some rural areas where it's like, there's not very many people and stuff, but then you're right back in a big city again with a ton of people. So
yes.
So you were going there for work?
Yes, I'm a advisor for compliance, data privacy, and it was a data privacy conference.
That sounds interesting.
Yes, International Congress. I help companies not to get into problems with fines or liability due to non-compliance.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds like something you definitely need a beer afterwards.
Yes, yeah. I like it. I found something that I think it makes sense. It's a purpose for me, and I feel like I have a certain talent for this type of creating management systems, not advising on law, but more like creating management system to comply with laws.
Okay. Well, yeah, to each their own. Some people fit into different molds for sure. That's what makes the world go around. I could never be an accountant or, certain things with numbers and certain, there's everybody always has a niche. They just got to find it. So, that's yours. That's great. So you normally kind of like a 9 to 5 schedule then, just normal working hours through the day, or?
Yes, with a certain amount of flexibility, but as a consultant, of course, I need to, take into account the interests of my customers. So I'm somehow bound to their schedule, and there's some hours when I need to be available for them, but I can squeeze a short hawking session into my day usually.
Yeah, and I was kind of wondering, because you guys being on the same hemisphere as us. It's the middle of your season right now too, and I'm sure the days are getting a little bit shorter, for you all as well and stuff. So I didn't know if you're able to kind of mold and have flexibility with your hours to fit all that in, or how that worked for you.
Yes, I have always found ways to squeeze it into my daily routine. For a while, I always I got up very early and I left when it was still dark and got my bird, weighted it, put it into the car, drove into the hunting grounds, and it was still completely dark. And then I started driving around with the thermal camera and checking while it was getting, when the sun was rising. I spent the remaining minutes already checking a bit with the thermal cameras if I see a hare or something, or elsewise I found a good place on top of a little hill, and I stepped out of the car and tried to listen if I hear the geese, because sometimes the geese, a group of geese, they land somewhere, and I hear if it's still dark. Sometimes I hear where they come from. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, how's the thermal thing working out for you? I know I just got one recently, and I'm still kind of wrapping my head around how to use. I'm not trying to get too far into the weeds on how to use all the different features and things like that, but just using it, if nothing else, as a scouting tool for different spots and things like that. It seems like it's really cool. I've got friends that have it and stuff too, but what are your thoughts on that? Has that really helped you out a lot, or?
Well, I don't have a very expensive model, but the one I tried, it helped me spot some hares, which I wouldn't have seen other ways. I didn't have a dog the first year, so it was either beating brush or trying to use some other tools, and it helped me also spot nutria sometimes. So they also appear, but it always, I think. On some days it's very useful, and on other days you can't really see anything. It's always a matter of the weather in the night before or the day before. If it was sunny and the sun was shining on big rocks, then the rocks, they heat up, and even the next morning they glow, like you see some heat signature, and it's confusing. But if it has rained the night before, then everything is the same temperature. All the surfaces appear dark, and just the hot bodies of animals appear. So yeah, I like it, but I guess a good old dog is also not replaceable.
No, I think both are obviously great tools. But I mean, I can see where some people would think that using thermals is kind of I won't use the word cheating, but I mean, I still think that at least for scouting spots and at least making sure that you're not going to be completely wasting a whole afternoon or a whole morning. I mean, you still got to get the game going. The bird still has to catch it, so I don't know if it's kind of similar to that whole, baseball players using steroids argument, or if it's because they still have to hit the ball, or, I don't really know. I've been kind of getting people's opinion on that a little bit. But yes. I think regardless, it's nice to at least be able to see if there's game in a field, before, and then, because it's not like it stays stationary.
Yes, to be honest, I mean, I know in Germany it's always very important, the principles of fair chase, and some people, consider that an unfair advantage. To be honest, I like it. I like these new tools, and everyone needs to decide for themselves what they think is ethical or not. But I'm always in a rush. I'm always in a hurry, and everything that helps me save time and but because the alternative is I don't get any flush, I need to go back home because of work, and then I just need to feed my bird on a lure or something, and everyone is disappointed. So
yeah, I get it. I don't, like I said, I personally don't think it's unethical. Once again, it's not like rabbits stay still, but at least you can kind of put some eyes on a spot beforehand, and of course there's some spots that you're going to go to that they're too dense or too, whatever, not conducive to using it anyway. So, but I mean, for squirrels especially, it's kind of nice being able to put eyes in a tree line real quick just to see if it even has any, or if it would be a good spot potentially, or whatever. Even if not for that day, maybe another day, so on and so forth. I think it's a pretty cool tool, and I'm kind of looking forward to wrapping my head around using it better, but I just started, so I'm pretty ignorant still.
I wanted to try a thermal drone, but I didn't want to invest in a good one, so I rented one. I found a guy who rented one over the internet, so I rented this Mavic 2, I don't know, the Mavic one with the thermal, the second generation. I think now they have the third generation, so I only tried the second, and I thought in my imagination I just fly over the field like they always show when they save the deer, but I didn't see anything, and I had the same problems with rocks, and so, but maybe with the next generation and improved thermal cameras, a drone would be the best thing. You drive to your hunting territory, put up a drone, fly one round, and spot all the places where you see a heat signature, and then you start walking.
Yeah. I mean, and once again, you can't beat something like that to scout spots either, especially if you want to make sure that there's, especially if you're flying a Falcon and there's large open fields that you want to just see if there's anything on it at all before. I mean, but yeah, I don't think I'd be able to afford one of those for a long time. They're definitely just a smidge pricey, those thermal drones.
Yes, that's why I tried renting first.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if that was an option, I would consider that too, just to see if it was something that would be worth it. But my luck, I'd buy one, and the first time I flew it, it would crash, and so I don't know. But yeah, that's good though. I mean, once again, it sounds like you're kind of in the same mindset as me as far as that goes. I mean, everybody's, as long as there's falconers, there's going to be different opinions, obviously. So, but yeah. So anyway, kind of going back to the original. I mean, it's good that you're able to kind of still work all this in around your job and all that. But how many years now have you been in this particular profession?
In this profession, I probably like 10 years, with first in-house positions and then as external consultant and auditor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you'd already been kind of doing it then, kind of figured out the time demands before you started getting into falconry then, and figured out that you'd be able to actually fit that in your life.
Well, my life was there, and then falconry came, and I made some space. Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to become a falconer a long time ago, but I never really had the suitable life circumstances until I got my first job. But then first I had to do the hunting license, and then I made the falconry license, and and then I got the next breeding season, I got my first bird. But I was dreaming of becoming a falconer a few years before that, but I was still studying. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a real estate, my own place where I could, build a muse or something. So that was not the right time.
Gotcha. So you were still just you were still a little bit older in age, but you knew it existed before you got into your career and everything. Then
yes,
okay.
I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah. So about how old were you then whenever you discovered it was the thing?
It must be like maybe between 22 or 25 years old or something. Now I'm 37. It was some time back when we were both studying, my wife and I, and she found a magpie, a baby magpie, a nestling that fall out of the nest, and we rehabilitated this bird, and we took it home, and we figured out how you feed corvids, right? This bird got the best diet of all of them, right? So it got a very good nutrition with nuts and fruit and insects and meat and eggs and everything, right? It was a super healthy magpie, but of course we horribly imprinted it. They are quite funny. And actually, before that, I never had any connection to birds. I thought that birds of prey look majestic, and I know that I had a book as a child where there was a picture of a common buzzard sitting on a rabbit carcass and feeding off it, and I was super impressed by this picture. But I was never thinking about having a bird myself. I only knew about people who had like a parrot or something as a pet, and I always thought they make a lot of noise, and then you put a sheet over them so they shut up. You put a sheet over their cage, and you can't even let them fly free, or elsewise they escape. That's what I knew from my friends. So I was never a bird guy, but then this magpie changed me, because it was really cool. Corvids, they are super smart, and they do a lot of funny things, and they start talking and everything like with human voices, and it was really cool. And then I thought how great it would be, to have a bigger bird. And I was looking at a raven, but then I somehow stumbled across falconry, and then I thought, well, a goshawk would be cooler than a raven. And then I was aware of the concept of falconry since I was a child, but I never was really aware that people in Germany go hunt deer with a golden eagle or something.
Mhm.
That it's actually still something that is practiced. But then I got into it, and I spent a lot of time at a rehabilitation center where there were a lot of injured birds close to Cologne, and we learned a lot about birds of prey there. And I remember the first time when I had a bird coming to my fist. It was a Harris hawk, and I was just we just doing training flights and just calling back to a day-old chick on the glove, and that was I still remember the feeling. That was a really great moment when the first time I had a bird of prey land on my fist, and I knew I wanted to do that. But then it took several more years until all the life circumstances met the requirements.
Yeah, it's the path to figuring this stuff out is always, it really is different from person to person, and I mean, at least you got some degree of bird handling and some degree of bird knowledge before you actually got into it yourself. I mean,
Yes,
I didn't have, and I know a lot of people are similar to me in that they didn't really have any exposure or any knowledge at all before they got into this, except
yes.
for, the season that they shadow before or whatever. And so it's good that you at least had a little bit of training experience and at least handling experience before then.
Yes, that's definitely a big advantage also for the falconry exam. You need to take a public exam. As I mentioned before, first you need the hunting license, and then you are allowed to take this falconry test.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a difficult test. So they don't let you pass if you don't know, for example, your native birds of prey and falcons and owls. You are supposed to know about these things, and you have to know about health and bird keeping and diseases and everything. So you really need to learn a lot. And if you work in a rehabilitation center, you learn all the diseases, all the birds they have parasites, they have all kinds of diseases, horrible things you see. Many need to be put down, but the goal, of course, is always to release them back into the wild. And only the ones that are strong enough to be released back and have a chance of survival are actually treated, right? And you learn a lot, and I think it's a very good advice because it also helps you identify your native species, because many people also fail in the exams because they were not able to tell what bird they were shown during the exam. And that in a rehab center, you get all your local birds, right? I mean, you get the most common ones. This is common buzzard or the kestrel all the time, but you also get sometimes a goshawk or a sparrowhawk, and you see all the plumage differences, and then you really learn to identify the different phenotypes, or what you call it, of the birds, right? So, for example, in our common buzzard, I think it's like the red-tailed hawk. It goes from almost completely white until very dark brown and everything in between. And you really start, seeing the different plumages and so on of these species.
Yeah, and as far as your exam over there, I mean, I talked just a little bit about this stuff with Klaus whenever I did my recording with him, but I am curious though, like as far as your written exams and stuff there, I mean, is it all in person? Like I know there's a lot of states now that are starting to do online exams and things like that. Do you actually have to go into a place still and actually take the exam there with someone watching you and stuff? Or
Yes, definitely. It depends. In Germany, the hunting right is, as Klaas mentioned, is done on federal state level. So you can take these exams in different federal states, and they do some differences. I actually went to another. So I live in North Rhine-Westphalia, but I did it in Hesse because I wanted to. I wanted to become a falconer as quickly as possible. So once I had done the hunting test and the hunting exam, I wanted to do the falconry exam right afterwards in the same year. But that was impossible in North Rhine-Westphalia because the point of time of the falconry exam was before the hunting exam. But then I was able to do it in another federal state in the same year. So I did it in Hesse, and there was actually a very practical part where you really need to act like you are in a real hunt, and then they throw a rabbit carcass on the floor, and then they say, okay, now your bird is sitting on it, show me what you do, and so on. How do you dispatch it? How do you secure the bird? How do you take the bird off the quarry? You need to demonstrate that with a carcass, a carcass and some dummy bird on your fist.
Yeah. That's crazy. No, ours here, it's just a written exam. There's no actual demonstration part for the exam or anything. That's kind of what the apprenticeship stuff is for. But that's nuts that you actually have to, as part of the exam, you actually have a practical aspect of it that you actually have to demonstrate, how you would do something like that. So, and did you get out with other falconers and stuff before you, and like, did you shadow hunts and things like that before you took your exam?
Yes, I did. I got contacts from Deutscher Falkenorden, from the Association, the biggest German falconry association that I'm a member of, and there are a lot of people that are happy to help you and take you as a young falconer and show you everything. And usually you can go as often as you like with other falconers if you are. You don't disturb, and you are, polite and come on time. Everyone is happy to take you with them. You just need to adjust to their schedule. But I went with a falconer hawking with Harris hawks, hawking rabbits on a graveyard in Cologne, in the middle of the city, for example. That was more like pest control, but they were always looking. One year I also got the permission to hunt on one of these. But I only did it 1 year, and then I stopped because the drive was too long, and the success rate was not worth it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good though that they and as you know, Klaus mentioned that as well, that for the most part, as long as you're a decent human being, that people are kind of happy to take you along and stuff to shadow. But no, I mean, I can't imagine then if there's an actual practical part of that exam, I can't imagine people being able to really pass that unless they do get out with people beforehand.
Well, if you do the course, for example, of my association, we offer a falconry course every year. And those are 3 extended weekends, so it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You have 3 entire weekends with all day long practical and theoretical lessons. But of course, the people who have never read any falconry book or have never gotten into it before and just arrived there without any knowledge, and they can tell apart a goshawk from a peregrine, they will also not pass the exam after 3 entire weekends of learning. It's not enough. I mean, they have to learn like a falconry knot and how to cut their own jesses and anklets and so on, how to put it on a bird. They need to learn all of that. And you need to find someone who takes you with them. And I found many people who were really helpful. Even some falconers close to where I live, but I have I'm not living in an area where there is plenty of game for falconers. So I only have the wild boar and not much of rabbits, or we don't have any pheasants around here where I live. In other parts of North Rhine-Westphalia, they have better conditions, but here where I live, it's not that abundant. So there are not many falconers, and the ones who live in my area, they go somewhere else to hunt. So, for example, in Cologne, in the city, there are still many rabbits, while outside of the city, we don't have many left. And there were many people that were happy to take me with them, but it was always a big drive, and I couldn't do it as often as I wanted to. But when I took the exam, I was well prepared. I absorbed everything for the past few years. Before that, I read all the books that I could get my hands on, and I watched videos online. And there was a lot of content that I absorbed. I also consumed a lot of American content. So I love, of course, Falconry Chronicles or Falconry Told. I think I started listening at around episode 30 when I first discovered the podcast, and
way back in the day.
Yes, and then there is the Modern Apprentice website, which I also like. I always I look for some inspiration, something for tethering systems or perches or mews and so on, because they have so many pictures there. I always like that. Or if I don't remember how the English term for a certain falconry special term is, like, I don't know, crayons or something, then sometimes I look there because it's a good source of information. And of course, like videos of Ben Woodruff and so on, I would always recommend also if you're able of understanding English, then keeping your eyes open for other international content.
And so as far as whenever you initially got into this, then I know it's mostly captive breeding pretty much for a large part of Europe. I mean, for you, what was the first bird that you started off with, and once you were able to actually start practicing?
Yes, I started with a female goshawk and a European goshawk. And it was bred by a breeder in the Netherlands, but it was recommended by a very experienced German breeder. He just didn't have a female at this year, so otherwise I would have bought from him. But he recommended this other breeder, and I got this female goshawk. I know that you guys consider a goshawk a difficult bird, but here it's actually, interestingly, always considered the beginner's bird. I know for historical reasons that the goshawks were available, and while peregrines, for example, you would never give a beginner a peregrine because they were just too rare. And goshawks, even if you do things wrong, I mean, with the goshawk you still catch something. So it's clear that they recommend using a goshawk. If you look at the German native species, then it's obvious that those are the ones that make most sense. So we are from a legal perspective, we can only use 4 native species for falconry at all. So it's the golden eagle, the peregrine, the sparrowhawk, and the goshawk, and we are not allowed to use any other native species for falconry. But for non-native species, we can do whatever we want. It's less regulated.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting for sure as far as the viewpoint on the goshawk and stuff, though. But I'm pretty sure probably, though, like you said, the reasoning behind that. If you all had red-tailed hawks and stuff over there, I'm pretty sure that you probably use those as beginner birds and stuff too. Yes. I mean, we're very fortunate in what we have here, and I mean, there was evolution that took place, obviously, to get to the point where certain species were considered kind of like the meat and potatoes, if you will, of falconry in our country, especially. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you've got somebody, a lot of species are considered difficult for sure, but if you've got somebody that's willing to kind of hold your hand and show you the ropes with certain species, from kind of start to finish, then I mean, there's certain species that you're, even with experience, you're kind of starting over as an apprentice again anyway. So I mean, I can understand why starting with a goshawk is kind of an understandable or accepted view over there.
Yes, and for me it was actually the versatility of the goshawk, which made me think, because before I secured a bird, I first secured hunting districts. So I need to get permission on certain territories. In Germany, usually most of the hunting districts, they are leased. There's a lease contract, and some guy has leased it, and I can only fly my bird there if I have the permission of this person. And so, first of all, you need to figure out what are the borders of this district, and who is the person, the hunter that has the permission there, and how can you contact him. And then many of them, they don't want it. They just say, no, thanks, no interest. And because they don't know you, they don't know who you are. And if you ask them, it's even difficult to get contact details of these people. But once you found someone and they trust you, and then they recommend you, and they give you the contact details of their neighbor, and then you start growing maybe your network. But I'm not from any hunter family, so it was difficult for me to get districts close to where I live. So in the first year, I only had one place. It was crowded with hare, so we had a lot of hare there. No other prey except of crows and Eurasian hare. But I thought that would be great for a goshawk in the first year, my first bird, and without the dog, right? I was just me alone in this giant place with a stick and trying to find hare for my goshawk. It took a while, but finally the goshawk she turned out to be very versatile, and I caught a lot of different species with her.
Yeah, and that is a good thing about the goshawk is, man, if it moves, they generally a lot of times want to try and catch it, and it's and they, if they want to catch it, they will usually. And I can understand, if you had at least 3 or 4 species that you could, feasibly, hunt there, why you would want to have a goshawk. I mean, I wouldn't personally want to have a goshawk unless I could hunt at least, a handful of different species, both fur and feather,
Yes. Now, since for the last 2 years, I'm flying Falcons, and I miss that, because sometimes I drive through where I have permission, through my hunting grounds, and I look for the geese, the Egyptian geese, and there are no there, and then I fly the bird to the lure or something, and then usually I walk only a few meters a few steps out of the car, fly to the lure, knee down a bit next to the bird. When it's fed up, put it back to the car and go. So you walk a few steps, and that's it. With the goshawk, I always walked. I was very tired. It was really exercise, and I always had the opportunity to change. I could try on crow. I could try on geese. If no geese are there, then I can try to find some hare and spot them, because in some hunting territories, I had all of those species and permission to go after them. Or ducks. Sometimes there is a little stream or a little pond, and there are some ducks, mallards on it. So I always tried with this goshawk uncountable times to catch ducks, but because that was the one thing that I had available everywhere in a 10-minute drive from home, and I got all the permissions, because all the other hunters there, they said, we cannot hunt ducks anymore. We did it 30 years ago, but today we can shoot here. Everyone is immediately complaining, because on both sides of the rivers there are houses, and but it was a continuous excitement to try to catch ducks, but it never worked out with this goshawk. I didn't have the dog there at that time, though. I think now it would be better.
Makes a difference.
Yes,
it definitely makes a difference. And, you need the right setup for sure.
Yeah, now with the Falcon, I don't have this opportunity anymore, so I miss that a bit, to be flexible and hunt different spots. And even if there are trees on top of a pond, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, and you said you've been in this for about 5 years now, and so I mean, how many years did you fly the goshawk before you switched to Falcons then?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not a very experienced falconer. I consider myself a bloody beginner, but I have flown 4 seasons with this goshawk. And this first year it was only hare, but then I got more and more different opportunities, and at some point I started catching Egyptian geese. Egyptian geese are available in high numbers, and the challenge is more to get the bird chasing them, because they intimidate them a bit. Yes, and Egyptian geese was what I did with the goshawk in the 4th season, but then it passed away, unfortunately, due to some disease. So I sent the carcass to the veterinary clinic in order to identify the cause of death, but it wasn't clear. They said it could have been aspergillosis, but since I froze the body of the goshawk, I put it in the freezer, then I destroyed the evidence, apparently, so they were not really able to identify it. However, the bird died, and then I got a Giolana, and I've flown it for 1 season. It was again a long journey until it finally caught geese, and I was super happy. And then the 3rd geese that it caught or tried to catch injured my bird very badly, and I had to put it down because it had some broken wings, and the vet told me it will never fly again. So that was very disappointing. And now I have a female gyr again, but she's small. She's not very heavy, and I'm trying to get her on geese. But this bird, I don't own this bird. I'm just training it for another falconer who asked me. Since he knew that my last bird died, he asked me if I wanted to try to make this bird catch geese. But it's a challenge. This bird is a different type. But I'm not giving up yet.
Fair enough. Well, and you keep mentioning the Egyptian geese and stuff, and I know you wanted to talk some about kind of how they're becoming kind of an issue or problem over there to a degree, and I mean, talk about or expound on that a little bit more, and about like kind of what the impact of that has been over there.
Yes, Egyptian geese are now an invasive species since 2017, so they are put on a certain list that is administered by the European Union. So they are not only a non-native species, but they are invasive. Invasive means they pose a, you know what it means. Yeah, they pose a threat to our native species, because they are very territorial and they attack other like ducks and geese and so on, right? And those birds, they have been around. Their original habitat is in Africa. So it's of course, in Egypt and also in sub-Saharan Africa, but they have already spread for many years in UK and also in Belgium and Netherlands, and from there they are now very quickly spreading out over Europe, usually along the rivers, but they go far into the east of Europe. But currently they are in Germany. I see them more and more, and everywhere they spread, and they love cities, and they go into cities, and they love short grass, so they want a golf course or something, and they also love when you have the public pool, outdoor pool, a public one with a big there's a big grass, for sunbathing, and people want to lay there in the summer, and then everything is full of goose crap, because they love these places as well. And I'm getting asked, for example, by the city, the government of local cities to help them get rid of the geese. So they actually they are becoming a problem, and some golf courses, they even pay for it, for abatement. So that's something that is really creating a problem. And since they were put on the invasive species list, it's actually mandatory for EU member states to use lethal and non-lethal measures to avoid them from spreading too much. But nothing is happening really. I mean, they have a long hunting season, so you can already start hunting them end of July. So actually, hunters could reduce their numbers, but not much is happening, and then it's not allowed in certain districts. For example, you cannot shoot guns in a public pool or something. Of course, well, not within in a public park, and that's where they are. Hundreds of them are in the public parks. If there's a water and some grass, they are completely happy.
Yeah, and there's, I guess that's kind of the subtle difference between invasive species where you're at versus invasive species where we're at. Like when something's considered invasive here, there's no season. You can hunt and kill them anytime, pretty much by any means. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if they're in like parks and public areas, you're not going to be able to shoot and stuff here either. But I mean, and maybe I'm misunderstanding too. If something is invasive over where you're at, is there technically a hunting season still for it, or can you kill them pretty much any time of year?
No, they have a hunting season. They also have hunting season, and Egyptian geese are managed under the hunting law, so they are a game species. Same as a raccoon, for example. A raccoon is another invasive species, and
Gotcha.
They are also managed by hunters. And yes. Sometimes they have a year-round hunting season, and but they do have a hunting season, and I cannot hunt them outside of the hunting season. But juvenile Nile goose or Egyptian goose, I can hunt all year round, basically.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I just didn't know if it was kind of like, how European starlings and house sparrows are here, where there's no season. You can kill them any time of year by pretty much any means necessary. I didn't know,
It doesn't work like that, but I'm always jealous when I hear the stories about people flying merlins on these big flocks. But no, here it wouldn't be possible. Of course not. And if so, then you would still need the permission of the hunting district owner. If it's a species under the hunting laws, right? There are some others, for example, reptiles or something. They are not considered game, and hunters are not responsible for managing them.
Okay. Well, that's cool to know. There's a lot of people here that aren't a big fan of, our Canada geese. They like to crap all over everything and stuff here too. And there's some places that will hire people to try and scare them off and stuff. Not so much for like with bird abatement purposes, but sometimes they'll hire people with dogs and stuff to try and come in and scare them off in some places and things like that. But of course, Canada geese, they're protected and they have seasons and stuff too. So you kind of have to do non-lethal stuff when it comes to that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't really appreciate ducks and geese crapping all over the place here either. So
yes, but apparently the Canada geese, they behave well, because we also have them. We also have a lot of them, but they are not considered invasive. But they have the same hunting time as Egyptian geese in North Rhine-Westphalia in my federal state.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, so is that something then that you're going to try and pursue as far as something more seriously as far as abatement goes and stuff? Or are you just trying to kind of use that just to have more hunting spots?
Yes, currently I use it to get more hunting spots. I'm always happy to get, especially if it's close to home, to have opportunities on Egyptian geese. But I don't know, in the future, maybe it will be a model to pay for some of the bird food. I don't know, but Yes, I would be happy about doing that, because it seems like a great way of making money, and I hear sometimes from people doing abatement that they only work a few months a year and make a lot of money during that time. And I think, yeah, I mean, it would be a very exciting job for me, but I understood you need to basically sleep in your truck and have to stay there all day long for
Yeah.
several months. I don't know if I have two children. I don't believe it's the right time now, and yeah, I already have a way of making money.
Well, it's, having dabbled in it a little bit myself now, I don't think I could do the whole, moving somewhere, living out, sun up to sundown, that more the agricultural abatement type stuff. I'm not really sure that would be for me either. But there's different things you can do, obviously. Different options.
I know that it would be exciting. It would never get boring. I'm sure about that. No, I still, every time I walked before I flush game, I know now the next moment I'm flushing hair or something, or ducks from a stream. That always makes my heart rate go up, and I'm shaking because I'm excited, or sometimes my breathing frequency goes up. I can tell that after a few years, it's still something that really is a lot of fun, and it really gets me excited, and I can admire only those people who found do this as a job, because but I think it will be a bit lonely after a while.
It can burn you out for sure.
Yeah.
Anytime you turn something that's kind of a hobby or a separate passion into a job, it can definitely burn you out to a degree. But well, I mean, is there anything else that you want to share about any differences or similarities between how things work, at least in your part of Germany, compared to other parts of Germany, or even here? Or
yeah, I think we covered the challenges with getting permissions and the query availability. I think there's no big difference according to that. I mean, there is no wild take, if you're interested in that. There's no wild take anymore, already, right? So we
Yep.
we get almost all our birds from breeders. There's still some part in the law that says you can take a goshawk, but at least in my federal state, we don't get any more permissions for that, because they say there's enough species available from breeders and enough goshawks as well. Yeah, we, as you know, we are allowed to use ferrets, but we can never use live baggies or something. So we can only use a carcass to train a bird, but we are never allowed to use any bagged game. That's a major difference, I think. But apart from that, yeah, I think Klaas already explained very well. So about bagged game or about carcasses. Once I was given by another falconer friend an Egyptian goose, and I started training my bird with it. And this Egyptian goose made its way hundreds of times now out of my freezer into the field, and a bird is eating from the frozen goose, and then I put it back into the freezer. This works as well. You don't need necessarily live prey to train him. It was really a challenge to make the goshawk attack these geese. It was flying over them and then getting intimidated when they don't try to escape. Usually they try to fight on the ground, and they make a big impressive pose. They spread their wings. They look like, come here, I fight you, I take you. And or sometimes they don't even they don't even respect the goshawk. They don't even consider it a risk. They just ignore it when the goshawk flies over them. And I think that's also confusing for them. They want to chase something that is trying to escape. So it's intimidating for them. And the first year I had plenty of opportunities of geese, and I always either tried to drive with the car close to them and let the goshawk fly out of the car window, or I walked to them and let the bird fly from the fist. But it never really connected to the geese. It never dared to. And I tried to lower the weight. I tried everything. I also had a lure made of Egyptian goose wings. So I always, and a big one, really large one, with two wings, two goose wings. It's pretty big, so it's not intimidated by the size of a goose. But it didn't help well, and it was one season where I always tried it and I never succeeded. And then the following summer, I always fed this goshawk on this frozen goose carcass. So that I bound a piece of meat on the neck of this goose, and I froze it in a body position that it's like upright. So the neck and the head was frozen stiff and upright. So, and I always bound the meat in the neck of the goose. And then after the summer, it was still very warm. And I think in September there was a cornfield that they harvested, and then it was all the geese, they come in when they harvest, they come there. There's still plenty of corn laying around on the floor, and then they eat. They eat for the winter. They build some fat by eating a lot of corn, and then everything is full with geese. And there were a couple of Egyptian and Canada geese, and when they saw me coming, I walked towards them with my goshawk on the fist, and when they saw me coming, the first ones got up. They always say they are chattering, they are talking and complaining and warning each other, and then they start walking away. And if I still come towards them, then the first ones fly, and if one flies off, then all fly off. And when the first one flew, my goshawk was exploding from my fist, chasing after them, caught one up in the air and dropped down to the floor, and I was super happy running. But then on the floor, it let it go. But it was the first one that it really connected with, and it was a great flight, and it caught and picked it out of the air. And then shortly after, there was the first Egyptian goose that was caught by this goshawk, and then it caught many, so it was quite successful. Even catching it out of the air, after chasing it, but often also on the floor. And then I always had to run and help it, but it never let an Egyptian goose go. Never. When it had its talon on the goose, it never let it escape. While my goshawk has let escape hundreds of hares, it never used to understand that it needs to grab the head, and it always grabbed some fur, and then it was shaken off. So I don't know why, but for the geese, if you try to pull off their feathers, it's almost impossible. It's like really strong material. But the goshawk, once it got it, it always hold on to them. And my goshawk was never, not one time, injured by these geese. Even if sometimes they fight in a group. So there are some older geese guarding the younger ones, or they are protecting their mate, their partner, and then your bird needs to fight more than one. But it was never. Maybe some feathers were plucked, but it was never injured. But with the falcon, then the year after, it was badly injured by these geese. And I have also heard from other falconers. These geese, they are really dangerous to our birds. So they know how to fight, and they are strong, and most birds can take it apparently, but you have to try to run as quick as you can to help them. But in my case with this Gialana, I didn't take long. It was close to me. It was less than 10 seconds as when I arrived to help the bird, and it was already injured.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long. I mean, especially with those big wings those geese have, if they,
Yeah.
it only takes a couple of wing beats sometimes to do the damage. So
Yes, but
yeah.
my goshawk was never afraid of them, and once it got, I always give it a full crop. It can eat all the breast meat and the lungs and everything of the geese, once it got used to the taste of goose, and it was really going after them, and it wanted to destroy all of them, right? So it worked very well, and after all, I think goshawk is a strong enough and a good species to hunt Egyptian goose, but a big one or even a bigger one. So I'm also considering to try other species. I want to try red-tailed hawk and maybe also a male golden eagle to hunt these geese. Because I'm somewhat concerned that the smaller birds might get injured again, and I don't want that, of course. But one thing that is interesting I want to mention is my goshawk also caught geese on the water, and it always every time it caught a goose on the water, it drowned them, and they were not able to fight back. And I also saw some pictures of wild goshawks using the same technique. So actually, it seems safer for them to catch them on the water from the few times I've seen it, because the goshawk is just swimming and grab the head underwater and do nothing, and the goose is drowned, and then the goshawk swims back to the shore. So that was an interesting part, because I thought, if it maybe the goose will manage to drown the goshawk or pull it underwater or something, but no, never.
Yeah, because that's what a lot of ducks will do, because ducks can stay underwater for like ever. and they'll just dive and sometimes drag the bird down with it and the hawk down with it, and then you're just kind of screwed sometimes. But I didn't realize it was kind of a different thing for geese.
I don't know if it was, maybe I was only lucky, but my bird caught several in the water and then drowned them and brought them back to not to me, but to some place where I could get to them.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there was probably at least a little bit of luck involved with that then.
Yes.
There had to be some, I'm sure. But that's neat. And it's already a pretty good story. Is there another hunting story you want to share before we get your piece of advice and come close to wrapping this up and stuff? Or
yeah, for me the most memorable hunting stories are always the ones when a bird catches its first head of game, or first one of a new species, of a new game species, right? But once when I tried with a goshawk to catch ducks, I always ran across rivers, and I walked through the high vegetation one time, and as soon as I broke through the vegetation and saw the water, then I saw something was swimming away from me, and it was a big nutria, swimming. They swim close to the surface, right under the surface. You just their head and their nose look. They come out of the water, and it was just swimming, not trying to get away, but it was like slowly swimming its way, and I stopped, and I didn't know what to do, and my goshawk, it was also like thinking a moment, and then it thought, look, there's some type of rabbits trying to swim away from us, and then she grabbed it, and of course I jumped into the river because they can bite, right? So I was aware of that. But the goshawk did well. It put both talons into the back and the neck of this thing, and I grabbed the tail, and with the other hand, with my gloved hand, I secured the head so it wouldn't bite any one of us, and I dragged it back to the out of the river. So that was the first nutria she caught. She caught also another one later, the one I spotted with the thermal cameras. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, those can be pretty dangerous for sure.
Yes, and I never tried to catch them on a regular basis, but it was still fun when she did, and they taste very very good. So
That's what I hear.
I enjoy the meat.
Good. Well, cool, man. Yeah, this has been fun. I'm glad that we've been talking for what seems like it's at least over a year now on WhatsApp and stuff, and my hope is to try and, if assuming I can get the time off next year, I'd really like to make it over for the meet next year, because it'll be time for it again, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we would be very glad to invite you here. Of course. Yes, let's see if that's a possibility.
Yeah, that's my hope. I'm hoping. My boss is probably going to hate me next year, because I'm probably going to ask for a decent amount of time off. But I'd really like to make it happen this next time. I was sad that I couldn't go last year, but I'm hoping that with the side jobs that I'm doing and stuff, I might actually be able to afford a plane ticket next year. So we'll see.
Yeah, last year it was actually my state club that was taking turns to organize all this event. So we only have an all German meet every second year.
Mm-hmm.
And then each time a different state club is supposed to manage the organization. So they take turns. Yes, I think you're doing a very important thing for falconry when you collect all these stories and when you travel around to talk to people about their experience. And I think it's very valuable also for me. And I really enjoy listening to all these stories from people all around the world. And let's see if we can get a few more Germans for you to tell you some of their stories. Maybe someone who is familiar with falconry history. That would be very interesting. Maybe to tell a bit about the German falconry history and when Deutscher Falkenorden was founded. But there are more competent people than me to talk about that. Oh,
well, the way I look at it is everybody's got at least something to some degree, I think, to offer. There's sometimes you'd be surprised, what some people, from their point of view, can kind of make you think about. It's cool. I don't like writing anybody off necessarily. As far as just what they might have to offer and what they might not. But unfortunately, there's just me doing this for myself as far as my production, and one person taking on the whole world is kind of unfortunately these last handful of recordings, and probably the next few handful of recordings might mostly be remote, unfortunately, just because of time and money. But it is what it is. I'd rather do this than not have any at all. So
yes, and I think I can say thank you on behalf of the entire falconry community for securing all these stories and make them available for other falconers and future falconers.
Well, thanks. I'm hoping to at least make it to 200, and I don't know. There's going to be a point where, I've been going at it almost 2 years straight now without missing a week, and I'm starting to feel. I'm kind of starting to feel like I need a little bit of a break here at some point. I'm not sure when that's going to be, but we'll see. But regardless, I appreciate the sentiment, and appreciate you for coming on. And we'll go ahead and get your piece of advice, and then we can probably call it good, and I can let you go to bed.
Yes, thank you. Well, as I mentioned before, I'm a rookie myself. I don't consider myself, being in a position to give a lot of advice. There are more experienced people than me, but something I learned maybe, and I want to give as a recommendation to other falconers. Don't give up on a bird too quickly. If the bird doesn't accept a certain game species or something, don't say my bird only hunts fur, doesn't hunt feather. you can make it hunt a feather or the other way around. You just need to, use some of the methods. And if you look around what other people do around the world, for example, the people in Arabia, how they make their Saker falcons attack really big game. They have some techniques, and look at how the people do it in Mongolia and so on. For example, I read in one book they feed to the eagle's fur. If the eagle is too heavy and they want them to be aggressive the next day, they feed them just the rabbit fur without any meat, just the skin and the fur. They roll it inside out so it looks like a meat, and cut it into pieces, and the eagles swallow everything. And then they have 0 calories, but they cast a giant pellet afterwards, and then they are super hungry the next day. For example, those are also some techniques I used and tried to implement into my falconry, and just tried around with it. So there are some great things that you can try, and if you don't do it only the one way, try a different way, try different methods. There are so many things, especially in historical literature, and many of these things are still working today, and it's fun to be successful at one point. With this Giolana falcon, no one really expected that it would hunt it, because it was already, I think, 15 years old or something, and it was just a breeding bird. It was never hunted on anything, as far as I know. And then, most falconers told me, get a young bird, get an imprint or something, and try it with a young bird from this year. But I tried with this 16 or 15-year-old bird, and it worked after all. And then it was also a big success and made me happy. I like the challenge, and I like. I'm trying it with this one, with the current Ger Falcon as well.
Very cool. Well, good luck. I hope the rest of your season goes okay. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to have a whole lot of a major happening season myself. I've already caught, I don't know, like 6 or 7 head of game and stuff. But as time goes on this season, I'm kind of discovering that I just start having less and less time. So I think I'm going to go back to the old fun, tried and true American kestrel, and probably do that in the spring and stuff. But as far as your season goes, I mean, I hope that you accomplish what you want, and it's a fun season for you, and don't have any crappy stuff happen. So
yes, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I wish you also good luck and a lot of success for your remaining hunting season. And as we say in Germany, Falconers Heil.
Well, thank you, and do me a favor too. Go ahead and pronounce your name so everybody can know. I mean, I always butcher foreign accent names and everything else.
Yeah,
so.
the first name is Malte, but my American colleagues always used to say Malt, because that was easier for them. It's something like that. Malte.
Yeah, Malte. All right, perfect, man. Well, yeah, I always butcher all that kind of stuff. The Southern Indiana accent and all that kind of stuff is not very conducive.
Oh, never mind. I don't mind.
Fair enough, man. Well, thanks again, and stay on for a couple minutes while these files upload, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.